Hey, what's up, everybody? Here we are today. We're here for a special edition of Deck Tech. It got Thalia and the Gitrog monster as my new commander. It costs one, white, black, green. It has the abilities of First Strike and Death Touch. It is a human frog horror. You saw that right. And you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Isn't that special? You know, I love land stuff, so playing more land is better than ever. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Classic ability. Love that stuff. Whenever Thalia and the Gitrog monster attack, sacrifice a creature or land, then draw a card. So I'm sacrificing creatures, sacrificing lands. I'm returning lands from my graveyard. I'm attacking with Death Touch. I don't care if my creatures die, because when I attack, I sacrifice a creature. Oh wait, no, that happens before combat. Anyway, I'm bringing stuff up back a little bit, just a little bit though, just a little touch. Not too much recursion in this deck. Maybe I'll shift into more recursion, and by that I mean like reviving my characters. So we're gonna sleeve this up and see if we got enough cards, and yeah, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I picked for this deck. So I got my pile of sleeves here, I got my creatures here. I've already sleeved these up. This is my package for keeping my stuff, keeping my commander alive. Angelic Intervention. Target creatures or planeswalkers you control. Yeah, one you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice. Protected from the color you're being attacked by. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible at instant speed. And I like this next part because I'm attacking with Death Touch. All creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. Attacking with Death Touch, buff up Thalia. Just ping each one with a First Strike Death Touch. Killer. Blossoming Defense, that's a classic. Gains hexproof for one. Classic. Here's a new one. Lauren's Escape for one white. Target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you scry one. These cards just keep getting better every time around. And I'm going to sleeve up my ramp package next. Here's a new ramp card I'm trying out. It's called Bushwhack. So I don't mind too much about these cards that put land in hand because I may play an additional land each turn. But I get to choose one. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Or a target creature you control fights a target creature you don't control. So you got the option of attacking with fighting with Death Touch, or getting a land card out. Really good card. Excited to try that out. Cost 1 mana too. Here's a classic. Flower and Flourish. Search your library for a basic forest or plains card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And the other half is creatures you control get +2/+2. That's awesome. I'm getting my creatures wide if I draw this in the late game. These option cards are awesome. Lay of the Land. When I find some other ramp, I'm going to replace this, but search your library for a basic land card, reveal into your hand, and shuffle your library. Cost 1 though. Not bad. The Birth of Melodis. You search your library for a basic plains, and you got some other stuff happening. Nice ramp in white. Reclaim the Wastes. Search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put into your hand. Search it for 2 if you kicked it for 4 mana. A little 1-drop, turns into a 4-drop. It is a classic. Roiling Regrowth. Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped. Cost 3. Really costs 4 because you sacrifice the land, but you can sacrifice the land that you tapped. Sylvan Scrying. Search your library for a blank card, reveal it, put it into your hand. It says land. It doesn't say basic land, it says land. Awesome. Here's one I'm trying out. This is the Colony Heart Expedition. It's got a landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a quest counter on it. You remove 3 quest counters from it, and you sacrifice it. Search your library for the 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped. So you pay 2, but maybe by turn 3, I'm already sacrificing this. Here's a classic. Rampant Growth with the new art. Classic. This is Grow from Ashes. For 3 mana, you search your library for a land card, a basic land card, and it enters untapped. And for the kicker 2, you search for 2 basic lands and they enter untapped. Really good ramp. And let's go into the removal package real quick. I got some other removal over here. Oh, see, I got things spread all over the place. Heroic Intervention in Valorous Stance. Target creature gains indestructible or destroy great creature with toughness 4 or greater. 2 options there, and classic Heroic Intervention. We might as well talk about this one when we're talking about ramp. You may pay 4. You just get 4 lands. That's the end of that. such a complicated card. And another one. This is ramp with options. Choose 2. Here's a ramp option. Search your library for up to 2 land cards. Put them on the battlefield tapped. Again, it says 2 land cards, not basic lands. For 6 mana though, that's a compromise, and you get any of these other options. Put 2 counters on a creature, create 2 bears, or exile target player's graveyard. Graveyard interaction is great. Casualties of War. Here's an expensive removal. Choose 1 or more. You get a whole litany of options there. Assassin's Trophy. Destroy target permanent, but they get a land. Oh, here's a great removal from a new set. Destroy target artifact, battle, enchantment, or creature with flying. So many options on here. It's sorcery speed, but it's got so many options. I like it on one card. Here's an older card with options. Celestial's Charm. Choose 1. Target creature gets +2/+2 at instant speed and gains trample. So you can trample in, finish the game. Exile target creature with power 5 or greater. Get rid of those big creatures. Or put a 2/2 white knight. That's an idle foil one. Here's one. It's got a lot of options. You can team up with your opponents. So exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment and opponent controls. That player may put a permanent card from their hand to the battlefield. Say one of your opponents that you want to team up with has something in their hand that would change the game for your betterment, but they don't have the mana to do it. And say, hey, let's team up. I'll help you get your permanent on the battlefield. Or you just do this when your opponent has no hand, no cards in hand. And here's Dig Up. It's got a cleave cost, so you can pay 1 black green, and you can get rid of the brackets. But this is search your library for a basic land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle it. So you remove the words in the square brackets. So this is ramp, but it also turns into just look for anything. Cool stuff. I thought that was removable. I don't know why I put it in that pile. But that's a nice little ramp card right there. And on the topic of ramp, because we keep coming back to ramp, because that's what this is about. I got Topiary Stomper. Enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. And it can't attack or block unless you control 7 or more lands. It's a creature that ramps. I like it. Another creature that ramps. Always been there for me. Sylvan Ranger, classic M11 card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. But here's one that puts it onto the battlefield. Sakura Tribe Elder. Sacrifice it, search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped. Classic card. It can block. And since I have so much land in my deck, I don't mind if non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. I'm going to punish my opponents. Thalia is great in this deck. I got Death Touch in this deck, so I might as well have Finn the Fangbearer. Death Touch, whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So you're attacking with Death Touch, attacking with Trample Death Touch, trying to give poison counters. Maybe I'll take this out, because I'm not focusing on poison counters, but I'm going to test it out. On the topic of Death Touch, I got Grave Titan. He's made the cut. I got Wormcoil Engine. He's made the cut. What else over here? Here is Space Godzilla with Death Touch. I can also cycle it and give someone else Death Touch early game if I don't have enough mana to do it. Who else has Death Touch? Let's look over here. I'm sure we'll see some more. There's so many exciting cards in this deck for sure. Crush Contraband. You got your options. Choose 1 or both. Exile target artifacts. Exile target enchantment. Exile is great. So good. We're talking about playing lands from our graveyard. Here's a new one, Conduit of Worlds. You may play a land from your graveyard, or you can also tap this artifact to choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. So there's a sacrifice, there's a caveat there, but you get to play stuff from your graveyard, and you can play lands from your graveyard. So you're sacrificing lands with Thalia to draw cards, and then you're playing them with the Conduit of Worlds. So good. Here's another one that helps us out with that. You may play land cards from your graveyard. Perennial Behemoth, 2/7 artifact beast. Cost 5, but we're ramping, so we don't care. So with Landfall. Landfall's going to be important in this deck. I can get more Landfall cards, but I just got a few to start out with. Test it out. Fell Out of Retreat is one I really want to test out. It's got Landfall whenever land enters the battlefield under your control. Choose 1. Create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance. This is a powerful one with a good landfall trigger on it. You can do both if you play 2 lands in a turn. Crazy. Here's another classic landfall card. The Tireless Tracker. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you investigate. You get a bunch of clues. Sacrifice those clues to make the Tireless Tracker stronger, or you just sacrifice them after because they kill Tireless Tracker, because Tireless Tracker is so good. It's an easy target. Prowling Felidar. Vigilance, landfall, put a counter on it. And here's its brother, little brother, the Territorial Scythe Cat. Landfall, put a counter on it, it has trample. With all my ramp spells, I thought it'd be nice to bring in Monastery Mentor with the prowess. You're making monks, you're making tokens. If I get enough token synergy going, I'm going to put in the Parallel Lives in this deck. But for now, I'm just testing out, see what I like best. I might go into a more token strategy because there's lots of landfall cards that create tokens. I just don't have them yet. Dauntless Escort. Gives you more protection on the body. Block. Sacrifice it. Give everyone indestructible until end of turn. Here's another recursion card. The 2/1 Menace. When Bloom Trigger enters the battlefield, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. And if it would die, exile it instead. So it costs 3. Usually this ability costs like 4 or more on a creature, but it has that caveat that if it dies, you exile it. But if it were to die, it has that replacement effect, but I wonder how that interacts with this one. The Lisa, Forgotten Archangel. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Oh, it gets exiled, so it doesn't even make it to that trigger. If a creature with opponent's controls would die, exile instead. So I got my creatures dying, returning to my hand. If I have my ramp creatures dying, I return to my hand, I can just ramp some more. So I'm looking forward to that interaction. Hunting Grounds. Since I'm ramping so much, I'm going to have lots of spells in my graveyard right away. As long as 7 or more cards are in your graveyard, Hunting Grounds has whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So I got a bunch of expensive creatures you'll see later. I want to see that synergy happen. Really cool. I got 1 Orzhov Signet. I got Ramp, but you know what? This is a really fast mana rock. Here's one. Enchant player. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under enchanted player's control, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So here's one. I think the intention is to put it on your opponent. I'm going to put it on myself and create a bunch of 2/2 black zombies. Really cool card. Excited to try that out. Here's a classic. Life Crasher's Bestiary. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you pay green. If you do, draw a card. Classic. Invasion of Ikoria. Here's a new one. It's a Battle Siege. So when it enters the battlefield, search your library for your graveyard for a non-human creature card with mana value X or less, and if it was put into the battlefield, and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle. So you pay X, green, green, and then your opponent takes control of the siege. It has 6 life on it, so then you can choose to attack your opponent, their planeswalker, or this battle. When the last counter is removed from the battle, you can choose to flip it. So you can choose to cast the back side, which is an 8/8 reach creature. For each non-human For each non-human creature you control, you may have that creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. What a crazy card. What a crazy card. So with Thalia and the Gitrog monster, I'm drawing a lot of cards. So I have this. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And that's each turn. So if I found a way to draw cards on my opponent's turn, that'd be cool. When it dies, and return another target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I got a few of those. That's going to happen. Oh, more landfall. Flying Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Your Mirror Angel is going to do some work. Going to mess stuff up. Here's a neat one. So when Shesra, Death Whisperer, enters the battlefield, target creatures blocks its turn available. So I'm going to make a creature block Thalia. That's the intention here. It's going to block my first strike Death Touch. It's going to die. In the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 2 life if you do draw a card. Thalia sacrifices creatures, so he's going to go hand in hand. I'm going to be paying life. I'm going to be taking a lot of damage, but you know what? I'm going to be drawing a lot of cards. Here's Elesh Norn. 2 white white. Vigilance. Whenever a source an opponent control deals damage to you or a permanent you control, that source's control loses 2 life unless they pay 1 mana. So that is their discouragement to attack me. Or you can pay 2 in white, sacrifice 3 other creatures. So I'm making tokens, I'm making token creatures. Exile Elish Norn, then return to the battlefield, transformed under its owner's control, activate only as a sorcery. That's the March of the Machines card. And here it is, the Argent Etchings is a reverse site. Enchantment Saga. Incubate 2 5 times, so you create 5 incubate tokens with 2 counters on them. Then transform all incubator tokens you control. So then they all flip into 2/2 Phyrexian artifact creatures with tokens on them. And then on the second chapter of the saga, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain double strike until end of turn. So you're making your army super strong on the second chapter. And then the last one, after all that damage has been done, destroy all other permanents except for artifacts, lands, and Phyrexians. Exile the Argent Etchings, then return it to the battlefield. So you keep your army you just made, destroy all my other stuff, but you know what? I'm still gonna be in control. Unless my opponents are playing Phyrexians. You guys playing Phyrexians? Doomscar Warrior. Here's a backup one. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them, put onto your hand. It's kind of ramp. Tolski's attacking. This spell can't be countered as indestructible. Tolski Bearer Secrets attacks each combat if able. Whenever a creature you control deals damage to a player, draw a card. Gonna be attacking a lot. Gonna be drawing a lot of cards. Really looking forward to that. Here's Glissa, Herald of Predation. I'm gonna try this card out in this deck. It has the Phyrexian indicator right there. You create more Phyrexians with the Incubator 2 twice. You can transform all your incubators at every second turn, because at the beginning of combat on your turn, you can do one of these 3. And Phyrexian control, gain first strike and death touch. So if I get a lot of Phyrexians going, that's gonna be fun. Probably should just make this a Phyrexian deck secretly. Use a removal that got left behind. Convoke. So your creatures can tap to help cast this. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Surveil 2. I really like this card. I have a lot of creatures in this deck. They're going to be able to help tap. It's so efficient. And I already have a ton of mana, so it's just extra cards. Extra cards going. Ooh, these are fresh sleeves. Oh yeah, look at my sleeves. Weren't expecting that. Here's another ramp spell. Hiding away. Invasion of Zendikar. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards for 4 mana. Instant auto-include. Vigilance. Haste. As long as Awakened Skyclave is on the battlefield, it's a land in addition to its other types. You can add 1 mana of any color. So it's a mana dork. It's a land. And it's a ramp on this side. So that's like triple ramp. Here's From Beyond. Devoid. The beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature. So I'm making tokens, I'm making creatures, and the creatures can be sacrificed to add 1 to your mana pool. So I'm creating tokens, I'm ramping. I want to play this. It's an enchantment. Switch things up. Here's Vraska. Swarm's Eminence is a planeswalker that has to do with death touch creatures. When a creature you control with death touch deals damage to a player or planeswalker, put 1/1 counter on that creature. So I need to switch into more with death touch if I want to get most of that. Here's a new card. Breach the Multiverse. 5 black sorcery. Each player mills 10 cards, so you're in a 4-player squad. That's 40 cards going into all the graveyards. For each player, choose a creature or planeswalker card in that player's graveyard. Put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. Then each creature that you control becomes a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. So there's the Phyrexian synergy. 7 mana. I'm ramping. No problem. I'm going to cast this. That card is going up in price, as you might have guessed. Use an old one, though, to make my creatures stronger. Creatures you control get +3/+3. Collective Blessing. It's a foil. I'm putting it in. If I get better cards, this will be the first one to come out, but I want to play a game with that. For sure. It's been a long time. Alright, we're down to the last few cards. Wildest Dreams. XX green. Return X target cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Wildest Dreams. I can pay those X costs really easily. I'm ramping. I can return cards that have died to my hand. Easy peasy. That's very good in this deck. Again, oops, I ran out of sleeves. I definitely need to make some cuts. I only have 3 cards left that need sleeves. I need to figure this out. I thought I had it figured out, folks. So I gotta choose between these 3. I'm gonna put the landfall one in there. So these 2 Eldrazi don't make the cut. I'm just cutting them now. They are very powerful cards. I'm gonna have to make room for them later. Maybe I'll switch out Galta for one of them. But these have removal built into them. Galta, staying around. Thunder's Ballast has a lieutenant ability, so when I get my commander on the battlefield, gives +2/+2 to my other creatures as well. And they all get trample. That's buffing them all up. Here's a board wipe. This battle is an invasion of Fiora. When it enters the battlefield, choose one or more. Choose one or both. Destroy all legendary creatures, destroy all non-legendaries. And once you deal 4 damage to it, you can flip it into Marchesa. She has Menace, she has Death Touch. Whenever Marchesa attacks, remove all counters from up to 1 target permanent. So that could be a Planeswalker. Beginning of your upkeep, if you haven't been dealt damage since your last turn, then draw a card and you lose 1 life. That's a long shot. I'm gonna be taking damage. And last but not least, here is Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. Powerful card. I've always wanted one of these and I finally opened it. If you watched that March of the Machines set booster box battle, this creature has a vigilance and other creatures control get +2/+2 and creatures your opponents control get -2, -2. I have this. I think all of us have this now, so we're all going to be playing Elish Norn at the same time, canceling it all out. That's going to be so funny, but that's a powerful card. All right, you're making the cut because you got trample, you got landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it. And if that land is a forest, put 2 counters on it instead. This can get really powerful and do a lot of trample damage. All right, folks, we're going to get some gameplay going. Going to test this deck out. I'm really excited to test it out. I'll get the lands going later. Thank you all for joining me today. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy your Sunday. And appreciate everything you got. It's a beautiful day out there. We're in a beautiful country here. Peace.